True, loud and proud, Mountaineer Nation, say it loud. The voice of Morgantown. VOM, Mountaineer pride, we go all in. First to the facts, last to the spin. It's the voice of Morgantown. Let's begin.
And we welcome you into the pregame edition of The Rush Show, presented by the Voice of Morgantown Network. This is the show where I usually break down Big 12 and West Virginia takes an analysis in 10 minutes or less. Today is a little bit different. It's a pregame show, and if anyone has comments out there, I would love to address them, kind of have a little fun back and forth. But before we begin talking about today's matchup, and it is an important matchup. I know it's an FCS team, but we just saw an FCS team knock off an FBS team yesterday in Tarleton State, taking down Army. So you do have to be careful of these games. But before we talk about that, there were some other Big 12 games leading up to this one tonight. Of course, we already have one Big 12 game in the books with Iowa State and Kansas State last week in Dublin, Ireland. And those are going to be two solid teams. At least we know defensively. I'm sure that they will get things right offensively. And, those are going to be two tough teams in the Big 12. However, as the week went on, we saw Cincinnati play Nebraska in Arrowhead Stadium on Thursday night. And we saw Colorado take on Georgia Tech in Colorado, and Baylor take on Auburn in Baylor. And from those games, the Big 12 is 0-3. I do think the biggest disappointment is the Cincinnati game against Nebraska. I think Cincinnati lost that game because of boneheaded mistakes from Sorsby, their quarterback, and Satterfield doing what Satterfield does best. You all know what I think about Cincinnati, and I do think this is Satterfield's last year, especially for a school that's had incredible coaches be their coaches. Luke Fickell, Brian Kelly. They were the only team before they joined the Big 12 to make the college football playoff as a non-power. It was the Power 5 at the time. And taking a step back like this is inexcusable for a team like Cincinnati, and it's not a good look for the Big 12. So look for them to replace their head coach at the end of this year. I know there's 11 games left, but I've been tough on Satterfield since the beginning. Why do I bring that up? It is important to realize that this conference, as the Big 12 is year in and year out, is always open, right? West Virginia, even though it's Rich Rod's first year, even though there's still a lot to figure out in terms of who's going to step up on this roster and play, what's this team going to look like, in midseason form, which I tend to lean on, that by then they'll have all the adjustments necessary needed, especially on offense, and they'll be looking really good midseason. This conference is going to be wide open, and it is going to be there for West Virginia to potentially take it. I know they're going to have to play up. I know we're going to be asking them to do a lot and win some tough games that normally, in a year one, you're asking kind of a team to rebuild. But I think the reason why you bring a Rich Rod back is you don't have the patience as you would a Neil Brown or a Dana Holgerson or some past coaches that have come in their first year. You ask someone like Rich Rod to come in that not everyone in the fan base was happy of him coming back because of the way he left things in 2007. But you ask him to come in the NIL and transfer portal era to get things rolling right off the bat. And if he does that, if he does what he's capable of doing, if this team plays up to their talent and their ceiling, especially their ceiling level talent, hey, this is going to be a team that no one's going to want to face any time this season. We saw it last year with Arizona State being ranked 16th. We know what they're capable of doing, and we know what they did. Hey, 2 years ago, we were ranked 14th in the Big 12. That was a really decent year for West Virginia. So with all of that being said, this season kicks off today, 2:00 on everyone's favorite network, ESPN Plus. I'm kidding, of course. And Robert Morris is coming to Morgantown. I've talked about it time and time again, and I'm going to keep talking because I know Rich Rod is making sure his players know this as well. This game is not an automatic win for West Virginia. It shouldn't be treated as such. Will they most likely win this game? Yeah. Are we hoping we get those second, third, fourth stringers in this game to build up that talent pipeline, to build up? It is a war of attrition. Some of those guys are going to have to step up regardless as the season goes on. Absolutely. But this game is one, and I cannot emphasize it enough because it applies to all games, but especially this one when I'll say an FCS caliber team comes to town. This game has to be taken one play at a time, and West Virginia needs to exploit what Robert Morris gives them, because they are going to give them things, right? When you play any team, they can't cover everyone at once, right? Someone is going to be left open somewhere. Someone is going to be available to do something on the field. Now, it may not be your favorite play. It may be a 2-3 yard dink and dump, right? It may not be the X or the Y, streaming down the field, and you want to hit them for a 20, 30 yard play or even a touchdown. Yeah, I get it. But hey, you do the right things. You try not to force stuff. And hey, if you make 3 1/3 yards every play, you'll never have to punt the ball, and you'll score touchdowns on every drive, and you'll burn a lot of clock too. So that's something that everyone sees. The Patriots, for our YouTube audience behind me, the Patriots logos behind me, something I watched Tom Brady doing a lot growing up. He always took what the defense allowed him. Never forced stuff, never tried to take too much, never got greedy up there. So then when you're doing those dinks and dumps and you're playing that short game and you're getting 3-4 yards here, 3-4 yards there, someone's eventually going to come open because it's going to bring that defense in. And I think the same thing goes today for West Virginia and their offense. And I think this is a principle that you take on throughout this season, is take what the defense allows you, because this is a Rich Rod offense. It's a tempo offense. It's a quick offense. You're going to get to a point in the third quarter where if you're grinding out and you're moving fast and you're not doing stupid plays and you have the ball for long enough on offense, you're going to start to see those hands go up on the defensive players' hips. And then that's when you really got them. Now, I will say a tempo offense, we've seen it before with Rich Rod. It is an offense that can take a second to get used to, for the players to really feel like that they got it down, right? Rich Rod was on the Pat McAfee show yesterday talking about, West Coast offense. They got a million different words to describe a million different things. He's got one words because you got to move fast. Quick one-word plays. Hey, we're doing this. We're doing that. We're going this way. And so this is something that the players are going to have to work into, that you got to build shape, that you can practice all you want, but there's nothing like a game to really know how this is going to come together. And there are going to be struggles along the way, as long as, it's not contagious and say one drive stalls out, which leads to another drive stalling out and so on. Hey, if one drive doesn't go according to plan, you nip it in the bud there. You get to the bench, you figure out what you need to fix things, and you move on from there. So I do think, and we saw this at Jacksonville State last year, right? It took a couple games for the offense to really click and to really get things in place and really get the ball moving. And then, they go on to win their conference and really outperform their expectations for last season. And now their head coach is back to the Power 4 level. So we see what can happen through all of that. Now, I go on to say that if the offense struggles at first and there are issues, that's okay. One, like I said, I do think they'll be more than sorted out. And once it clicks, it'll click and no one will be able to stop it. But two, there is a whole nother side of the ball that you can use to really help you out. And that's your defense, right? We have Zach Alley. I'll call him the young genius, stepping in. We know it's a guy with a lot of potential and will most likely be a head coach at the Power 4 level someday. We hope we can have him as long as possible here at West Virginia. But we know that he's a very talented coach, and he's cooked up a lot of defensive schemes. And I really, I'll say in the Robert Morris game, because that's the theme of this show. And hey, I got to do what the players are doing, stick to one game at a time. But a lot of this too, I think applies to the rest of the season. Is I really think this is a game for the defensive line to really step up and put the rest of the Big 12 on notice that if your quarterback isn't getting the ball out in, we'll say 2.5 seconds, you're going to be in trouble. I think the rest of this, our linebacking crew and our secondary is talented, and I do think that they'll step up when needed. I'm excited to see the schemes that Zach Alley does have drawn up, but I'm really excited to see what this defensive line is capable of doing, right? And if a defensive line is getting to the quarterback, really quickly, in a way, it doesn't matter how good or bad your secondary is, right? The quarterback doesn't have time to throw the ball. They don't even get tested, right? So, of course, they're going to have to do their jobs and make sure those guys are covered right away to give the defensive line enough time to get to the quarterback there. But a team like Robert Morris, where you have FCS players. That's the thing about this. I don't want to underestimate this team at all. I know if you're not careful that these FCS teams are more than capable of coming around and upsetting some of these teams. Again, I emphasize, Tarleton State beating Army yesterday. That was an upset, especially Army. Won the American Conference last year, their first year in the American Conference. So if you're not careful, bad things can happen to you. But with that being said, these FCS players are not at the same caliber the Power 4 players are, right? If we played Robert Morris 10 times, maybe one of those times they do have a chance to beat us. But the other 9 times, it's not even going to be close, right? If you played a team enough, the law of averages is going to catch up. So with that being said, is you're going to have undersized linemen. You're going to have undersized guys out there. So I really think that this game is a chance for the defensive line to exploit that and to go after the quarterback and to not even give him a chance. And, they start devoting, extra blockers in there, whether it be a running back or a tight end, and then that's when you start, sending the linebackers as well and really getting everyone all messed up there. So don't be surprised if the offense, maybe the first drive or two, stalls out, or it's not as where we would like to have it, in that mid-shape form. As West Virginia fans, they will figure it out. I'm not worried about the offense. They'll settle in this game, and I'm sure that they'll be fine. But I really look to see, and I really expect Zach Alley's side of the ball, the defensive side of the ball, to be the one to step up in this game and to carry this team at first. So, I'm sure they'll make adjustments as well. I'm sure they'll get, burned on a few plays, but sometimes that's not the worst thing in the world early in the season too, because it's what allows you to make adjustments. It's what allows you to learn. So then when you go on to play the at Ohio's, the Pitts, the Big 12 schedule, that you've learned from certain plays before that. So when you see them again, you don't allow the same result to happen there. So looking forward to this team. Offensively, defensively, and we'll see what special teams is capable of. Of course, I know it's not the sexiest, phase of the ball, but hey, the defense, the special teams part of me, it is a very important phase of the ball, and sometimes can be the difference between winning a championship or not. So, hope everyone's out there on the blue lot right now, enjoying themselves, having a good old time. Of course, check out the Blue Lot Bourbon Tailgate. We got a nice Voice of Morgantown flag hanging up high there. Everyone is welcome there, of course. Tell them that the Voice of Morgantown sent you, and go enjoy yourself. Go drink some delicious bourbon, of course. But I do want to end on this before everyone starts, whether you're in Morgantown going to the game or you're watching from home right now and trying to get settled in and enjoy yourself before West Virginia kicks off at 2 p.m. That bringing in Rich Rod for this team marks a significant cultural change for West Virginia, right? We're seeing coverage from Pat McAfee that we haven't seen before, and there's excitement behind him. It was his coach at West Virginia, right? But this feels like we are going back in time to that West Virginia of glory that we remember from the mid 2000s, from the early 10s, where they were a juggernaut and no one wanted to play them. And you did have the opportunity to win a national championship. And now, in a way, I will say winning a national championship is harder because of the expanded playoff. And there are just so many rounds now to get to the championship game in itself and to win it. But there's also a better opportunity to at least get to the playoffs and to have a chance of that. And I do think that making a move like this, getting Rich Rod back to West Virginia, it sets up the Bob Huggins dynamic where, Rich Rod isn't going anywhere. And this is the dynamic that we love at West Virginia, that we need a coach as much as they need us. And then that builds, perfect chemistry, and, a team's able to do great things. Again, that's what Bob Huggins was. And, we don't like it when coaches use us to move on to other schools. I think we need to use it as a model in a way and use it to our advantage, but that's a conversation, of course, for another time. Regardless, that is what we're getting out of Rich Rod being back here in West Virginia. And the type of coaching style Rich Rod provides, in addition to the type of money that having a Rich Rod brings, being back at the helm. And of course, I just brought over Pat McAfee and the media attention it gets. It does create that perfect storm of West Virginia returning back to its glory. So I think today is a start in what's about to be a great, beautiful thing here at West Virginia. I'm really excited for the future and what's to hold. Of course, we can't take this game lightly, but I do think that this is an opportunity for West Virginia to at least, at a minimum, return its home field advantage to a home field advantage we haven't seen in 6 years, right? We just got over 33,000 season ticket holders that have signed up. And, we haven't seen that since 2012. So there is real optimism in the Mountain State and specifically Morgantown. And I'm really excited to be a part of it. I'm really excited to be covering it. And you should all be happy too as fans. I think we're about to witness something incredible. It all starts today. We've been waiting for this a while. Talked out in terms of what's going to happen as Rich Rod as coach. I'm ready to just start talking about what he's done, what he's about, going to do as we play other opponents and start getting that sample size. So I'm sure all of you are excited and feeling good yourselves on multiple levels, of course. And again, thank you for all your support as always. Don't forget to just subscribe to the Voice of Morgantown Network on YouTube. For all those watching on X, we really appreciate you. We'll be back with a halftime show, post-game coverage, and then, of course, all week, every day, we'll have some show in some form or fashion talking about breaking news and breaking down the Mountaineers. Again, thank you for everyone for joining, as always. I'll see you again real soon. And, of course, let's go Mountaineers. See you guys.